So, this is a bit of an interesting video for me. I'm going to be doing an actual ASMR video this time instead of like the parody like I did last time. I know that it probably didn't get a whole lot of views. I haven't checked on the video in a long time. I have to do that after this recording. So, just know that this is like live as can be. Within reasonable guidelines, And it was kind of in preparation for next week because next week I do plan on doing a basically a parody of Papa Mutt Wine Moms, which is already a bit of a parody. Yeah. I don't know how to describe exactly things are. But basically, if you're just finding this channel, you've already heard a bunch of stuff you probably have no idea about. My name is Jimmy Bufo. I am a VTuber, specifically a Toad-themed VTuber, which is like toads. I lean heavily into frogs too. Toads are all bumpy and cute, and that's what I always enjoy. Background-wise, my character is actually like a magical toad, just why he has the eyes. And it's a long story. The designs get the designs on my fault, which is the whole reason why I have what people described as jaundiced eyes. Although that might also be because the alcohol I consume in vast quantities. But trust me, I'm good. My model's good. We're all good. Next year things might change. So this might be a retro video for some people, because this is kind of a year one, year one videos are always kind of scuffed in some capacity, especially considering I've mostly been streaming besides this. But to put things in perspective, I appreciate you guys coming out to the bar. This is Jimmy's bar stand. We just kind of have a little bit of a bar stand here in the swamp, and we just kind of enjoy ourselves. Now, I know when you think of VTubers, a lot of people think of like horny and all that other stuff. And I'm here to tell you that that's absolutely not the case in most cases. Most times we're not thirst trapped, especially if you're me. Although maybe sometimes I can be some people's personal preference, but I don't think I'm all that. Like that. So that being said, I thought it'd be funny to just go ahead and get the bread out. Just get it, because VTubers like being bread. But I'm joking. It's going to be a bit of an odd video for this way. It's going to be a bit of an odd video for a lot of people, for a lot of reasons. First of all, this is unscripted completely. I have no thing. I'm basically going to be rambling for like the next. We'll see where we go. But I am just really just going off, and whatever we talk about, whatever happens, is just kind of part of the show. Because we're only doing this take once, and I haven't screwed it up so far and said anything off the cuff. So, but yeah. So that being said, I do like my beer. So let's just crack one open real quick, and we'll get started. So I'm gonna take my mic here, and I'm gonna start with first set of triggers here. I'm gonna set it down here. We'll get to everything else. Hoping my mic's picking this up. My model's not. I gotta be careful now, because otherwise the tracking doesn't get it all the way. Alright, so here we go. Just gonna put it down here. Good. satisfying. But here's a little bit of fun with the cap. Some people really like the sound of caps clicking. I know my wife doesn't necessarily, because usually when caps are clicking across the floor, it's because of the cats. The cats, we have one. She likes to hoard bottle caps like a dragon. She's gonna be the most prepared cat in the world for fallout if it happens. Yeah, she's a little klepto. She loves her bottle caps. So this is, to be fair, this is a lot softer than being slid across the floor. But regardless, I know some people do like it, some don't. Try and time snap when things are going on that way people aren't happy and forced to listen to triggers they don't really like. Will probably be whispering throughout most of it because I'm very difficult to keep quiet. There, that's all like what, 15 seconds of Star Trek. I am not a big fan of doing that. So anyways, alright, so I might have had enough of this bottle now. I'm gonna do my best to try and capture the sound of the beer hitting. I guess I could go a bit glass up glass. I have a little bit of a stein here. I found that a little bit of soft glass tapping is not a bad thing. It's just when people clink hard, it's when it becomes bad. So, okay. So, we're gonna try and do this pour. Now I got one shot. So I better make it count. Count good. Here we go. Rest a little bit because the one I have currently is not the main stein. It's small. And I kind of laugh at that because I have a bigger stein than this one. It's an actual stein, not a glass stein. The sun's there. A little bit of it left in there. Do my best to let the sun speak. I have no idea whether this is actually getting picked up on camera or not. I'm gonna hope it is. So, alright, let's just get ourselves all ready to go here. Yep, yep. This is gonna be fun. Oh, this is gonna be so fun. Okay. So I can do this without breaking. Alright. I think I got this. Okay. Good. I was a little worried there it was gonna work. So, yeah. Oh shoot, the mic's floating. I'm breaking the illusion. Breaking the illusion here. Yeah. I don't know how well society at all, because it really is a social glue. And it's not just one society, it's across most societies in history. From like modern day, I want to say it's Japanese culture, where businessmen will oftentimes go to bars, share beers, like societal comradeship, like just to kind of show you your whole yourself, all the way back to like ancient Mesopotamia, where beer was more of a practical thing to make sure that water and food doesn't go bad. Because back in the day, water was like pure water was almost impossible to keep because they didn't have all the same filtration, like sanitation technology we have today. And yeah, some people say, "I'll just go ahead and boil it." That's like the oldest technology we have, and that's kind of works. It kind of works, but then there's also impurities and stuff. Not only add bad taste, but also can be harmful to people. So it's kind of interesting to think about it that way. How beer, because obviously the yeast is a living organism. It's actually, it's like a, excuse me, excuse me, my apologies. I'm gonna probably have a couple of those because carbonation. Because beer is it's a single cell organism. It's not beer, but yeast is a single cell organism. That it's I don't believe it's actually a bacterium. I think it's actually classified as Animalia. So animals are kind of weird because animals can come in all sorts of weird forms. Honestly, I'd have to go back to my microbiology days because I had several classes related to microbiology that talked about like how basically yeast is like one of the most interesting like single cell organisms. Because it kind of plays by a lot of its own rules. It's very simple in some ways because obviously you've got like uh, the fact that it's a lot larger than all most single cell organisms, but also the fact that well, depending on the species, I should say, but also the fact that single cell organisms tend to be more like bacteriums and such. Uh, but like the fact that yeasts are technically animals and they've got their like complicated DNA, I think it has quite the requirements like something. It's not mitochondrial DNA because I think a lot of bacteria actually have that, but there's something specific. The way the DNA is organized, I want to say it's like bacterium are specifically circular chromosome, and yeast is like an animal that has it's XY specifically, but it's like another shape, another packaging of DNA. So it makes it a lot. It's actually interesting because in terms of like yeast infections and stuff like that, we're getting really off topic here, but it's fun to talk about this sort of thing. In terms of like yeast infections, they're harder to treat because specifically bacterium, uh, you can like it's easy to heat destroy and do all this other stuff, but because of the way yeast is DNA is shaped, it makes it a lot harder to directly treat. That's not impossible because like and again, I'm not speaking experience because I gotta keep in mind I didn't even graduate college at any. I took a bunch of classes and I just sucked at them. So kind of listening to somebody who might not know everything I'm saying. It's just the observations and thoughts that pop it's kind of on similar principle to parasites, where in order to destroy, because you can destroy bacterial DNA a lot easier than you can animal DNA, which is why a lot of antibiotics do that. But with anything that's like complex, like Anomalia or fungi, it's a lot harder to deal with because what ends up happening is, in order to destroy that that organism, you have to target a lot of the same things that your natural body cells do, like need. So it's, I mean, antiparasitics and stuff. There's a reason why it's so harsh. They're just very, very naturally destructive to cells and ours. Anyways, take a sip and we'll change subject. But yeah, beer is kind of really interesting because it's just, a lot of people don't like it anymore. And I think a lot of that has to do with just this sort of turn away from alcoholism that's kind of happened recently. I think that's fine. I say the same thing that I say about most things, and that is that I'm a very laissez-faire person. You can enjoy something and partake in it, and as long as you're not being harmful to yourself, I think that's fine. I think we'd be okay with like drugs if they were okay, but the problem is with a lot of harder drugs. Like, I mean, harder drugs like meth and cocaine and stuff like that. You run into the problem where it's super destructive to you and it's super addictive, and so maybe at smaller doses it would normally be fine, but people get hooked on it so easily and they start amping up the dosage, and that long-term use just destroys their bodies. It's horrible. I wish it wasn't the way it was, but it's like that old adage: too much of a good thing can hurt you. And it's really funny because it applies to like everything basically. like if you're doing too much of one thing, it usually means you're hurting yourself in some way. For instance, drinking water is great. You should drink lots of water. I am very, very bad at doing this because I have a very weird palate where I like, if I'm gonna drink something, drink anything in particular, I want to have flavor, because flavorless things going in my body is just not a great. But it's really funny to me because you can actually drown yourself, unironically, if you drink too much water. And it oftentimes drinking too much water can actually affect your kidneys too, because you gotta keep in mind your kidneys are meant to filter out stuff. But if it's constantly going, it's a machine. If you're constantly peeing, those processes get sort of, and I'm not a medical professional, so please do not take my word for gospel, because I'm not. I might be speaking out of turn here in some places. I'm very simplifying, just not correct on certain topics. You're more than welcome to correct me in the comments, by the way. I don't take constructive criticism terribly, like I wouldn't say a lot of people, but some people don't. Anyways, I like being corrected. I'd rather be corrected and have that correct information spread than misinformation. This sort of digital age of misinformation has been a detriment on our society for a number of reasons, especially with people. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Anyways, basically, push your kidneys too far, too much. Because, okay, so, like, imagine your kidney as, like, garbage disposal, right? If it just sits for a long time, it's going to end up breaking because it's not being used enough. And stuff clogs it and gets down in there and it rusts and all that. Which is why, like, not drinking enough water, kidney disease is a real awful issue because your things is not working correctly. But the opposite can be true too. If you're constantly running, eventually the gears and stuff will start breaking. But in your body, it's basically it's linings and stuff like that that start having issues, and eventually, if you drink too much, kidneys can't process all that out, and you will end up dying because of that. So, kind of an odd dynamic there with your kidneys and water. You can also drown, which that's not me commenting on actually drowning in water because that's a separate issue. I'm talking about like if you drink too much because your kidneys can't filter it out in time, it starts backing up in different water starts pumping in different places, and you can really have liquids in your lungs, basically cause you to drown in your lungs. As crazy as that is to say, but yeah, too much of any one thing is usually a bad thing. And that's also true for or the opposite's also true. Sometimes you can have a little bit of something and it's perfectly healthy or perfectly normal. Something that drives me up the wall is like people who don't understand parts per million. Like, okay, some things are very, very deadly. Uh, like ricin. Ricin is extremely dangerous because of how low amount it actually needs to enter your body to kill you. Now, how it kills, I don't actually remember how it does because again, it's been a while and I haven't. It just teach you how ice works. It's a fun fact too. But people treat other things that have been quote unquote like, for instance, something that bugs me. The label for California. There's always like that label that says this product has been known by the state of California to cause cancer. It's not actually. So how do I phrase it? It's not cancer. Obviously, it's not cancer. It's not. It's not causing. How do I phrase this? Damn it! It's hard to say. Um, it's not actually causing cancer in high doses, like, right? Or sorry, in the doses you're getting, a lot of times. Uh, sorry, I kind of had to. The laundry goes off right at that time. I'm sure that was lovely to all you who were sleeping soundly right now. But what was I saying? Oh, parts per million. So, uh, the state of California mandates that anything that could possibly cause cancer, at any level, gets labeled like that. And so the joke is that everything causes cancer. That label is slapped on a lot of things, if not like most things. And the unfortunate thing is that's really misleading. Like most things that is labeled on is not like the amount that would require for you to partake of, whether that's consuming, whether that's like touching or whatever, in order for you to reach that dosage. It's so small. It's insignificant. Like, it's sorry. You have to touch so much of like that that it's impractical or it's just not realistic that it's going to cause an actual issue. So, for instance, right? It's just I don't think they label these because it's a food, but technically bananas contain a unique one second, I gotta think of what the term is called. Isotope. There we go. Isotope of potassium. So an isotope, by the way, is just basically like if you don't remember this in school or whatever. The long skinny of it is basically isotope is a molecule that is minus or plus in once it's neutrons. I think protons actually designates. Anyways, basically it adds a charge to or changes the charge on on an atom. So, for instance, in this case, the potassium is, I want to say, it has one less neutron than it needs, and basically it makes the entire atom extremely unstable, or not extremely unstable, in that it radioactively decays faster than other isotopes of that. So, basically, every molecule is slowly breaking down at a molecular level, and eventually, the universe, theoretically, I should say, will sort of just break down into the basic particles. Because everything, basically, some large reaction. The theory, I should say, is that like millions and millions of years ago, there's like when the Big Bang occurred, everything was at a much higher state of like form. So like protons, neutrons, all that were basically they were a lot more like radioactive elements. But as the eons go by, the natural radioactive decay, which causes them to fall apart, changes them into different elements. So we got really far off topic from the original potassium, but the long skinny of it is that they contain this specific isotope of potassium, right? And consuming enough of it, because it is so radioactively active in breaking down, means that you are at risk, or if you consume enough of it, you can actually get a form of radiation poisoning. But the amount of bananas you would have to consume to get that form of radiation poisoning would be so incredibly high that you would die first from the sucrose poisoning, which sucrose is sugar, like, or I guess I don't remember if it's specifically sucrose, but one of those sugars, naturally, basically any of the naturally occurring sugars at high enough doses will kill you too, because again, anything in excess is a problem. So like the bloodstream is specifically designed to handle a certain amount of free floating particles, and if you have too much of one thing, it will cause your untimely demise or just complications. So, anyways, I guess this is a long way of me saying that I think the problem with a lot of things that people want to regulate is just that it's the problem of people doing too much of it at once and not having the willpower to control that. Alcoholism is an example of that, right? So what bugs me to no end is stuff like weed and tobacco and stuff like that. Those are definitely like not like in high, especially in high doses, not very good for you, like health wise. Weed's a little better than tobacco because tobacco is actually nicotine is actually a natural insecticide, as cool as that is to say. So basically, a lot of plants develop like different natural poisons to get rid of things when eating. nicotine is super poisonous to insects, and it's also like to most animals, actually almost all animals. It's actually really it makes them sick, and at high enough doses it can kill. So that's why it developed it. Is it didn't want its leaves getting eaten. Um, what's ironic though is that's exactly why we breed them. It's kind of like caffeine too. I don't know what plant it is, or if it's a group of plants. But basically, caffeine was actually a natural poison that was made to kill insects too, because caffeine is poisonous at high doses. Um, you can kill yourself using. Well, I should be very careful in how I phrase this. Uh, you can cause yourself bodily harm by consuming too much caffeine. There's a reason why caffeine headaches are a thing. And that's a lot of times that's due to withdrawal too. But that's another aspect of it is why our bodies have things like withdrawals. Is it's that natural addictive process can be dangerous if we're doing it too long and too much. It's really odd to me how many people are comfortable with like, drinking and not with weed because, and it's not quote unquote naturally addictive, but weed does have a culture where you get potheads and stuff like that that just cannot, like, they do not function well without their weed. And that's due to natural choice because we are, even though we're animals with biological addictions and functions and stuff like that, ultimately we make the decisions as to what we all put in our bodies. And people are weirded out by it. Me saying that, like, I think drugs and stuff like that should be legalized. But you don't realize how much stuff is your own free choice of doing and not doing, and like the consequences of said actions. Because I think that's a huge part of it is just people are afraid of like the natural consequences of their actions. I'm just realizing that the problem my bar is offset. If you look down to the bottom right of the screen, you notice that I because I basically I have this overlaid, but we're going off topic here. I do that a lot. But yeah, it's one of those things where people are uncomfortable with other people suffering because of their actions, which is I understand. We naturally have an empathy, and we naturally want to help them. We should. It's good to help people. If you don't even if you don't believe in God, right? Like I'm not gonna go around Bible thumping people and saying God's real. You absolutely have to like follow His tenets, or you will go to hell or whatever. I think it's good enough to just say, guys, let's be a little more civil with each other. Let's like have a little more empathy. I know it's hard because there are a lot of people and a lot of cultural stuff that sort of want to exploit emotions and empathy. I'm not saying we should have suicidal empathy because there is a point where you have to look out for not only yourself but your family, friends, your neighbors, and stuff like that, and look to what's actually being affected if you do certain actions. I'm not going to get super political, but just I do think there's a balance between where we can reach between genuinely helping people and being kind to each other, and also not being like allowing exploitation of said empathy and reason and kindness. I'm not saying that Japan has it perfect because they definitely don't, and I think a lot of people like to like point to the Asian countries as, oh, they're so good, they're so clean, they're so perfect. Their cultures are all uniform and homogenous and stuff. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of good stuff with that, but you don't live in it and you don't see the bad sides of it. Like there's a lot of discrimination, a lot of beating down of people who really don't need to be beaten down, and it just frustrating at times because I feel like people want to like put other things on a pedestal without also assessing the flaws of things, if that makes sense. I've seen people in my own experiences, and this is not really super political. I mean, it is, but it's not. I think. I think it's just a fair policy to like understand that there are people who will, like, say anger. Anger is a very easy emotion to exploit because a lot of times there's a reason we call it blind rage, right? A lot of times when you're angry at something or the way things are, you want to lash out at something. You want to break whatever's causing you pain, right? And a lot of times it's easier to highlight like a group of people instead of individuals, right? Because sometimes especially with like stuff like governments and bureaucracy and even companies, corporation bureaucracy, which is a thing. I think it should be very clear that most people like fathered, you know, mom, pa shops, right? Where they're like, they're owning the company, but they're like so small and they're genuinely honorable and kind, and it's easy to tell when someone's rotten when they're at that level, right? But with a corporation, it's a lot harder to sniff out rot because there's levels to it, and that's what I mean by like corporate bureaucracy. And that's why I think my opinion on capitalism has changed a lot within like the past, like, I'd say 5 years, 6 years, which is long enough that I've been out in the real world, not in college. I've seen the things that have happened, and it's funny because my parents said I'd be saying the opposite, but I think I definitely don't believe in communism. Like starting out, I just straight up don't believe in any system where one central figure says you have to do all this and makes all the rules, and there's no leeway for anything, because you end up with a system that's easily exploited by people who want to exploit people at the top. So psychopaths will oftentimes get into these high positions of power because they're easy. They know how to manipulate people without getting manipulated themselves, right? They don't care about stepping on other people's toes. They know how to sort of game the system around them, and they aren't worried about breaking off relationships because of certain things, because they don't care about those relationships, or that maybe they don't care as much as they would need to. Which is why I don't think any centralized governments tend to be a good thing, especially with governments that tend to pass tons and tons and tons of laws, because a lot of times, and this is the thing they don't tell you, a lot of times those laws are written by the people who are paying them. And it's not you, the people, who are paying taxes. It's the what are they called? Sorry about that. I have to cut that. Cut that out. It's the shoot. What is it called? Lobbyists. People who are able to pay large sums of money to get their way influence. It's bribes. It's corruption. It's a lot of part of the suffering of today is people have set themselves up in ways where they benefit from the suffering of others, and it's genuinely sad. Which is why I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a socialist, but I'm also not a capitalist. I don't like labels necessarily. I think if you have to line yourself up with parties, like, to like be able to make decisions, I think you're doing it wrong, because you need to take a look at individual policies and stuff like that. honestly, I feel kind of stupid at times because I feel like a lot of my decisions have actually been the wrong ones. And it's mostly because just politicians lie. And that's something you need to always keep in mind, is that politicians will lie to your face. And there will be nothing you can do about it. And you don't even need to go back off the track record. A lot of times the track record itself is a lie. Like, they're either setting themselves up, or they've changed, or they've been bought out, or whatever, and they will change. They will flip on a dime because people are so easy to manipulate. I don't know if there's a solution. I'm genuinely concerned. Anxiety of mine is that it feels like a lot of times there's nothing you can do, you as a person can do. And I don't think the right thing is to just reserve yourself to blackpilling and just saying, oh, well, I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to be a negative Nancy and just, resign myself, isolate myself, and be, meh, and just bring other people down. I think actually the opposite is, I think it's better to be positive about the things you can influence, because if we can change things at a micro level, enough people changing at once, enough people saying enough is enough at once, making conscious decisions to maybe not obey all rules. Because I actually think Luffy's kind of right here. Yeah, we're getting to One Piece. But Luffy from One Piece, right? What's his goal? His goal is not to be it's to be the king of the pirates. But what does that mean to him, right? That's actually a question that's asked a lot. What does being the king of the pirates mean to you? And it's not having a bunch of gold or riches or ruling the world or something like that. His answer every time is, I want to be the most free. And I think people lose sight of what they actually want. I don't think most people want to be super duper hedonistic, but they want to be able to enjoy things, right? They want to be able to enjoy time with friends and time that they can be able to themselves even. That's why people like video games so much. It lets them do both if they want. Either be isolationists or they can play with others, and it's fun. That's what I do, sure, is it's a good escape from the real world, where I can't do much on my day-to-day job. I can't change anything about what's going on in my workplace other than just bringing a positive attitude, not to the changes, right? I don't have to like the changes, and I don't have to agree with them. And sometimes I don't even depending on what it is, I can bring it up to my bosses and sort of just I'm not rude about it. You've got to do it tactfully, but sometimes you can voice your concerns or your disagreement, and in doing so, it's not a yes man sort of scenario where you're just, I have to do this my way, or I will. Hi, sweetie. Sorry. It's almost the cat's dinner time, so Bean is being a little mouthy here. But anyways, you don't have to be a suck up. You don't have to say yes, boss, no boss, yes I, no sorry, sort of deal. You can be positive to your coworkers, bring a good work ethic, and do what you know is right. And when it comes to that sort of thing, you can voice your concern. And if there's wiggle room, don't be like, I'm gonna, I don't know, shit on the lawn or something. Obviously that's an extreme. If everyone's been shitting on the lawn for ages and suddenly they ban shitting on the lawn, that's a little different. I'm not doing a good job with the analogies today, but if you can find a way to safely either bend the rules or just sort of semi-ignore. I wouldn't say completely ignore, because a lot of times there's reasons why rules are put in place. For instance, right? There's a reason why people don't like game wardens, but they understand why game and fish department, why that's a thing, right? Because too many people would go out and go and commercially fish and ruin it for everyone else. So that's why they need those assholes. But also, those guys are assholes. Like, there's a reason why, like, okay, I have a fishing license, right? My buddy's sitting next to me drinking a beer, not fishing. They come up, they bother us. He doesn't have a license, but I'm fishing, and so they charge him with fishing without a fishing license. It's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. That's a micro scale problem with people, either the wrong kinds of people or people just being afraid of not saying no to certain, like, or making like slight changes to rules. And that's not being hypocritical with the rules, right? I don't think it's hypocritical to enforce rules in a reasonable manner. It's just people these days don't like to have discretion because of lawyers and stuff like that. And it's not me ragging entirely on lawyers too. Lawyers are important, right? Like, lawyers help people to stay out of jail. Uh, usually um, through finding out like ways that they did not do something, like ways to prove their innocence. But uh, lawyers have also like in like civil suits. Civil suits are one of the worst things. I think if something's bad enough that it's doing something harm to others, it should be criminal. I don't think there should be a difference between civil and regular court. And that's just an issue in the U.S. That's how we're set up here in the U.S. But I think it's done, like, the civil suit system has done irreparable harm to our society. Um, and we should throw it out and restart, basically. Um, because if someone's doing something so harmful that they need damages brought, that sounds criminal, right? Um, and yeah, we would need more judges and stuff like that. But honestly, we kind of need that now, because the truth of the matter is, if you go to any state that I've ever talked, anyone from any state I've ever talked to, always have the same thing they say about judges, right? Oh, these judges are a bunch of assholes at the top that all have so and so buddies, and they always get those guys off, but they don't enforce other ways, and there's no real way to prove it, so I can't do anything about it. And it's like, yeah, that's a thing that is universal about the system. It clearly says there's something wrong with the system. And I think a lot of it has to do with societal trust. The wrong people got into those positions and abused trust. And now the systems we should be like, the thing is, judges um, used to be like more like honorific, right? Um, because they had honor, if that makes sense. It wasn't necessarily I got into this position of power because of my daddy or whatever, and now but it's slowly become something like that, where it's a boys' club. If you're not in it, you're kind of screwed. I need more beer here. Let me pour some more from this. There we go. Just a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people's anxieties stem back to this deep societal distrust with everyone. I don't think it's the internet. I really don't. I think it's the way the world's set up. People recognize corruption more now than they have ever before. Yeah, it's depressing. So you went from like high trust societies back in like the like. And here's the other part about this. I am speaking in general again, but because there are definitely examples where it was not high trust and definitely corruption and stuff like that. Obviously, Jim Crow South is a great example of people being about absolute asshats about things for no fucking reason other than I'm just going to be rude to this group of people because they're different. But, um, and even that was even the same in the north. I should say that there's even places in the north that was like that. It's awful, genuinely awful. Uh, but there was a time when there was an idealized picture of what could have, where it was like small town. You know the judge, you know these guys, that guy, and stuff, and they gave you a fair shake at things. And I wish that it would kind of we could figure out a way to go back to something similar to that, where like everyone could trust everyone else. People were decent to each other, and I don't know if we'll ever get back to that. And I don't know what we would have to do to get back to that. I'm kind of scared of what we'd have to do to get back to that because I also worry that in doing that, we might end up hurting people. What's the word? Accidental, not accidentally. It's not accidentally. It's ins- uh, incidentally. I know I'm trying to say something. I just worry that people would get hurt for trying to change things back. I mean, people always get hurt when big change happens. But I like mitigating as much hurt as possible because people are. I believe most people are genuinely 100% good, or not 100% good. Like they start out 100% good. Like most people want to be good to each other and don't like hurting each other. Then you get the small subsection that do, and that sort of ruins the whole bunch where everyone has to be paranoid now. At any rate, I've got to start finishing this beer to get on. I know it's been almost an hour since we started this sort of chat, ranting and stuff like that. And I know it's been a bunch of nonsense. Was that I'd like to do some more ASMRs that are more serious like this, where it's like actually like, trying to help people get back to sleep, because, or get to sleep rather, because I myself rely on ASMR a lot. Yeah, it's very good to sometimes have that like feeling of like warmth. I wouldn't say it's necessarily it has to be parasocial, but like people oftentimes like find comfort in soothing voices of others, and I kind of want to be that. I realize that this may not be 100% the best answer to start with, because it is kind of bringing politics and stuff like that a lot, and there's a lot of ranting and stuff like that, high complex um, concepts that kind of make your brain think. Maybe I'm frustrating people by saying wrong information. I'm sorry about that. But my goal here is to eventually have this be sort of a subsection of the content that I do. So I like streaming, and I'm never going to go away from streaming because I enjoy interacting with both people, like fans, and just being able to sort of have a reason. I'm sitting there usually, right? I'm usually logicking things out for myself. Like, okay, so tweak here, so let's do this, and I'll say that out loud. And when it's just myself, my family, when I used to live with my parents back in the day, way back in the old day, they always said, "Man, you sound crazy because you're not talking to anyone. Why are you talking out loud?" It's how I do things. I like to talk out loud. I like to say ideas out loud, even if it's wrong. And you know what? That helps me get corrected if I need correction. He helps me. My wife needs to correct me. But I'm kidding. I kid, of course. Sort of. But no, seriously. provide like this sort of content here as well, where I can just kind of provide something for someone else. So my normal streaming is like providing sort of entertainment, sort of like a parasocial thing. But this can also provide these sort of. I don't want to sound parasocial, say parasocial, because that I don't want it to be harmful. Right? That's not my intention. But something where someone maybe someone's lonely. There's that meme. You look lonely. that the AI girl does. But maybe someone is lonely, and maybe they need like someone to listen to, or someone to sort of hear their thoughts, right? And I like the idea of providing sort of a shoulder, because there's a lot of lonely people out there these days. And while I can't provide anything like romantically for people, I'm sorry guys, I know, a lot of you guys, raging hard-ons right now. I'm sorry, I can't believe that. I have a wife. I love all the ladies who are excited right now because of my smooth voice and my total attractive beer current. I'm sorry. Sorry, ladies. I have to be someone else. But because I love my wife, honestly, and I'm really her. So let's just lay that down now. But I can provide sort of a friendship in a way. Not like a direct friendship. I don't want it to be twisted. Like, if I get to know you, and that's another story, right? Like, if I get to know someone and like we get hanging out, talking, and all that, and there's something healthy there, that's one thing. But there's also another thing that's healthy. It's just like sometimes, in order to not be alone, you just want someone in the background or someone talking, someone listening, someone making you feel comfortable. And sometimes this is a good practice too for like people who need to listen, or people who need to practice listening. Sorry, or people who feel like they have like social anxieties. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there who have sort of social anxiety to hanging out with other people, and so like quiet exposure therapy like this could be helpful to them too. But then there's the main audience of these ASMRs, right? Which is just I'm tired, like to sleep, but I have trouble sleeping without certain triggers or noises. And I need something to help me relax. So that's what I'm doing. At any rate, I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. For those of you who want to like follow and sort of stay in the loop and be part of the community, we are known as buffoons. Obviously a play on Buffo, but BUFOON, buffoon. Because let's face it, we're a couple of clowns here. I'm a huge clown. Circus. That's why I do have Twitter. I'm most commonly found on Twitch when I'm live, which is not on a set schedule because right now my life is kind of hectic to where I just do it when I can. But if you really want to stay in the know on like when I'm going live, for sure, just check my Twitter. I am usually good about updating things if things change. So, thank you guys for coming out tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this nice, quiet little moment with us.